This is TWiT.
So next up, we have Andrew Chow from TIME, who has done some incredible reporting about Bitcoin mining operation kind of poisoning a small town. So that is so fascinating. And I just want to welcome you, Andrew. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Emily.
So tell us about the work you did. It's such a treat to have a journalist on here who spent months going back to a certain place and like really understanding an issue. You talk to experts. So I'm really eager just to hear about your project and how you got started and then kind of what you found.
I've been reporting on crypto for the last 4 years and its different kind of impacts on populations around the world. Filipino gamers, African NFT artists. It's going into my book, Cryptomania, which comes out next week. Nice little plug there for myself. And at the top of this year, I received a tip from a source that there was this town in Texas where a Bitcoin mine had moved in and people were starting to complain about it. Now, the idea of people complaining near a noisy Bitcoin mine is not new, actually. The New York Times has done some really great reporting in Arkansas where Bitcoin mines have moved in and people complaining about sleepless nights. But these complaints, the more that I talk to people, they seem to extend beyond just sheer, nuisance or quality of living. They seem to be losing their hearing, getting migraines, getting sick in sort of really strange ways. So the more that I talked to people on the phone, the more that I knew I had to go down there and try to figure out what was going on.
So intriguing. I mean, I've seen countless movies about, like a chemicals company that's poisoning the water, just something that's so, I guess I can imagine how that would make someone sick, but a Bitcoin mine, can you just explain a little bit about how that could, or it seems like it might be making people sick?
The premise totally feels like the start of a horror movie or something. It's really eerie. So yeah, basically Bitcoin mines are giant computer servers that are running all the time to safeguard the Bitcoin network and create new Bitcoin. Because these computers, thousands of these computers are running all at the same time, they need fans to cool them off and to stop them from overheating. So basically, there are these fans that are emitting a whir running every second of every single day, and that is what's causing nuisance. Now, there's some people that hear like fans, like I sleep with a white noise machine. But I can tell you that the noise of these thousands of fans is very different from what you have in my room. For one, there's like a physical aspect to it where it's like vibrating people's homes, like their windowsills, and they're in their bed and they can feel it shaking. It's also like it undulates in and out, so it's not a constant thing. It's a lot harder to ignore. And some people have recorded a noise of 60 or 70 or even upwards of that number of decibels inside of their house. They've compared it to, a lawnmower running outside their window at all times, or sitting on the tarmac, and just hearing airplanes take off one after another.
Wow. So it basically is it's under the noise limit for the town, right? It's not like when there's a giant concert, it's not allowed after certain hours. It's not like that kind of noise. It's just like a constant hum.
I think the real killer here, so to speak, is the nighttime noise and the constancy of it through every single night when people are trying to sleep. It's waking people from miles away up from a dead sleep. I talked to a scientist, a German scientist named Dr. Munzel, who is one of the leading experts in the health impacts of noise pollution. Particularly, he was looking at the impacts of like living underneath an airport or next to a highway and running controlled studies on what that can do to people. So there's sort of two levels. If a noise is, above 95 decibels, it's creating, hearing damage in your ear. And you're gonna get tinnitus and lose your hearing. But even noises, 50, 60 decibels, if they're constant and they're disrupting your sleep, they can provoke all sorts of cardiovascular responses, oxidative stress, reduce your vascular function. And if it's impacting cortisol levels, it's like it just makes sense. If you're not sleeping, your health is going to fall off a cliff.
Right.
So that's what Munzel says. I talked to a couple of doctors in the area who concur that this constant debilitating noise is having an impact on the health of the people in the town.
Wow. It's a total horror movie, and it's just unknown, which is even scarier. And there were some numbers in your piece. You said like 40 people have gone to the ER, or like how many people are reporting issues, and what are those issues? And also I think there was a dog that lost its hair or something like that.
Yes. So over 40 people, I talked to dozens and dozens of people. Over 40 people reported some sort of medical issue that they had not had before the plant moved in. And that's not even talking about like the general sort of peace of mind issue. Over 800 people signed a petition basically requesting that the noise shut off. So even if there are people who are not feeling the medical effects, they're pissed off and they hate it. And there are over 10 people who went to the emergency room and believe that their visit was linked to the stress from the mine. So on the base level, you're getting impacts on ears, right? You're getting hearing loss. You're getting tinnitus, so ringing in the ears. And then a lot of people are getting migraines. They're getting vertigo, so extreme dizziness, and a lot of high pressure folks high blood pressure folks who have never had this issue before. Having really high blood pressure. Then when I talked to Dr. Munzel, basically his idea is that, it affects different people differently, but people who are more vulnerable to, health risks are going to be disproportionately affected. Right. So then you have the people who are having severe cardiac issues, arrhythmia, palpitations. It is basically impossible to tie any singular health event to the noise of the mine. We'd need, months or years of controlled studies, taking apart, diet and all that sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's really proving direct correlation is really hard. All I could do is go down there and talk to as many people as possible, see where in the county people were being distressed and report on what I found.
Yeah, exactly. I think you did a great job. Just like, this is what people are saying. You're not a scientist. You're just saying like, this is what's going on in this town. And I think you accurately captured it. And no one could say what's going on or not, because like you pointed out, this is kind of unproven. I mean, to my knowledge, Bitcoin mines, I imagine them being in very remote areas, kind of the large scale ones. And then this one is probably one of the first instances that we could see of many where it's like right in the town.
Bitcoin mines like to be built in places with cheap energy where they're hooked directly up to a power source. So you see a lot of them actually in like West Texas, where they're not really bothering anybody. They're connected to wind or solar farms. The issue, like you said, is when they're being plopped down next to people. And the issue here was that there's this gas plant that's been there for a long time that is basically across the road from many residents. I want to go back because you asked about the dog, which I know tugged on a lot of heartstrings. Our photographer took a really great and sad photo of a dog who had lost all of his hair, or her hair, since
I can pull it up. I have the print issue with your article in it. Let me find the photo. Keep going. Oh
wow, I haven't even seen that myself, actually.
Oh, I'll show you. It's awesome. This is the first page. That's the town. This is a little treat for anyone who chooses to watch this. That's the farm with the town next to it.
Print magazine still exists, you can.
It's like proof of life for print journalism. I love print journalism. This is the dog. Oh, my blur. What am I gonna do? Uh-oh. There it is. We found it.
There it is.
There we go.
So this is basically 3 blocks from the Bitcoin mine. And there are 2 dogs that live next to each other. One of them, since the mine moved in, they're a husky mix. They had a full, beautiful coat and are now bald. Next door, the dog started basically having seizures and had to be put on seizure medication. And there have been studies. It's a lot easier to, run these kinds of tests on animals. So there have been controlled studies, one with mice and noise and how that, you can see the impact on the brain and the nervous system. And another study with dogs, which showed that sustained noise like this does cause acute anxiety.
It's heartbreaking.
So I think the link, again, hard to prove one dog, but the link is pretty indisputable at this point of noise pollution to the impact on the health of dogs and other animals.
Yeah, hard to prove, but worth talking about. I mean, this mine is owned by one of the largest companies that does Bitcoin mining, and I think holding them accountable or at least questioning some of their choices is certainly warranted. The one thing that I did wonder in your piece, like, if, an argument against them kind of is the town did seem to have an anti-Bitcoin kind of leaning. Like, people were not interested in the technology. They were like, what is this crap in my backyard? This weird internet thing. Do you think that played a role at all?
I think, first of all, it's a good observation, and it was another reminder that, like, the idea of the average American doesn't exist, but, going around the town, seeing if they knew about or were interested in Bitcoin, that interest was basically nothing. So there's still, as much as the Bitcoin industry wants to say, like, oh, it's coming, mainstream adoption, right. A lot of people don't know about it. A lot of people have a general distaste for it. Right. To answer your question, I think one of the reasons that I became convinced that there was some sort of relationship here between the noise and the impacts was that a lot of these people were basically suffering in silence and on their own and reporting sort of these issues in the exact same time frame that the mine moved in before they all realized sort of what the source of it was. There was a town hall earlier in the year, and they heard, that they all started hearing this noise independently. They all started, having impacts, and then they all realized what the potential source of it was. So it's not like there were protests before the mine moved in, and now they're all rallying. They all first started hearing it and feeling like some sort of health impacts, and then after that realized that they were all suffering from the same thing.
Wow. We're just going to go a little bit over because this is so interesting. Maybe 5 more minutes if you don't mind.
Sure.
So I got into crypto. I bought some Bitcoin, and actually didn't buy Bitcoin. This was a couple of years ago. I think it was like 2021 when the markets were so peaked and it was like you could become a millionaire. I did all this work to not buy Bitcoin, all this research. I tried to find the most environmentally sustainable, it's proof of stake, all of those ones. No, yes. Proof of stake instead of proof of work. And I got kind of into it. I invested a very small amount, thank God, because my crypto wallet is just not where it should be based on where I thought it would be. So it's kind of surprising to see your story about not only that there's a gigantic mine, but there's like a trend of more coming online. And who is even buying Bitcoin, and why is this business continuing if the market is so low?
Sure. Your story is a similar story to many other people. There were a lot of people who got in and saw the promise or the potential of it in the 2021 range. Again, that's what my book is about. It's about why so many people got in, and then why the market turned so horribly awry. But a funny thing happened after that, which is after the crash of FTX, the market was in the tank for a while, and it slowly rebounded, at least in terms of the prices. So we had a giant swing from at its peak in 2021. Bitcoin was $69,000. After the fall of FTX, it's all the way down to about 18,000. And now it's back above 60. So there are a lot of people who basically argue that the market is back. It's doing well, but it hasn't had the same sort of cultural impact that it did last time with NFTs and, SNL appearances with, Elon going on SNL to talk about Dogecoin. So the market is still incredibly active. There are people all over the world who are buying Bitcoin as a speculative asset, believing that it'll go up. Donald Trump just spoke at a Bitcoin conference just last week, talking about how much he loves Bitcoin, even though just a couple years ago he was talking about how much he hated Bitcoin. So that's like a very interesting trend we're going to watch during the 24 election. So the market, it's still frothy, it's still volatile. People buying because they think that they can either make a quick buck or a long buck. And in terms of Bitcoin mining, the Bitcoin mining industry remains really, really profitable for a certain subset of mega company. There's been this huge consolidation where you used to be able to mine Bitcoin in your bedroom, just like have a couple.
Yeah, I knew some people doing that. Yeah,
exactly. And if you ask some of those people, they knew how loud it could and hot it could get in their rooms when they were just mining, a little bit of Bitcoin. Now we're talking about industrial sized server farms and these companies like Marathon, which owns the Bitcoin mining Granbury, that are, it's sort of a money printer for them. They're also doing really well. They're delivering really good returns for their investors. So right now, if you're a giant company in the Bitcoin mining space, you're still doing really well. The crypto market tanked, but it's back up. And so a lot of boosters are arguing, we're back and we're here to stay.
All right. Well, I would like to see my crypto wallet be back for sure. So I don't know. It still seems like to me, who is even doing this? But seems like it's continuing to happen and having impact. So we should follow it maybe a little more than we do.
Thanks so much for watching this little chunk of Tech News Weekly. If you'd like to get the full episode, well, head over to twit.tv/TNW. There you'll find buttons you can click or tap to subscribe to the entire show in audio and video formats. Or just look in the description. We've got links down there as well.